Yeah.
Hello, welcome back to the Avoid the Tyrewall podcast. Today I'm joined by two very special guests, Manon and Maia, also known as Mania on board. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, guys?
You want to start?
Yeah, so I'm Manon. I'm one half of Mania on Board. Originally, I was the video editor, but now Maya has taken over and does a lot of editing too. So here's my personality gone. We basically created our account earlier this year at the start of the season because I was making some fun edits and I thought, oh, I'll share them with the world. And it gradually evolved into us doing comedy videos, data videos, just a mix of fun and entertainment. No, that's the same thing. A mix of fun and education. I don't really like the idea of that, but Maya has a science background, so she used that to make her data video. And we do a lot of quizzes because we like the community aspect of the sport. So we like engaging with people and testing their knowledge.
What did you think of the 2023 season?
I think it was definitely a mix. So I think it was a mixture of stories for different teams. Some had an amazing season, some did not have such an amazing season. And I think depending on which team you're following, you would have had a different experience of the season. But yeah, it was really, I think because we like Max, we enjoyed it, but I feel like he dominated so much that it was not boring because everything happening behind him was interesting, but it was very predictable, I think.
Yes. See, I always get asked, which team do you support? I don't support a team. Like, it is honestly, apart from that, oh, you can't like F1, you're a girl. Apart from those comments, it is probably my most commented comment because everyone just wants to know. And I'm like, I just like Oscar Piastri. He just seems like a nice bloke.
Fair enough.
He seems like such a lovely guy.
And
he's so good.
I think that's the beauty of this specific sport is that because there's only 20 drivers, you can be a fan of a driver. So you can either be a fan of a driver or a fan of a team or both. But there's like different ways to experience like loyalty in the sport. So it's quite fun because if you're a fan of Oscar Piastri, you're a McLaren fan now. But if Oscar goes to Ferrari, like McLaren is the enemy or whatever. So I think it's quite fun. But if you're like a Red Bull fan, you're like, oh, I'm a Sergio fan today, but next year I'll be someone else's fan. And so I think it's fun. It's not like football was like a team or tennis was like a player. In F1, you get both. It's quite fun.
Yeah, literally, like my three favorite footballers all play for three different teams. Two of them are like sworn enemies. I'm like, some of your responses to the hateful comments, I was absolutely giggling. Like, they were so good. And you know, we probably all deal with the casual misogyny from the male fans. I'm so fed up of it. Like, do you think you like do the hilarious responses to like kind of keep up the is it mojo, like the vibes? Because honestly, they were brilliant.
I think we actually don't get loads, to be honest, of like misogyny. I think because our content is quite, it's very like a lot of it's very light. So even on my like data videos, I don't get a lot of people. Sometimes people be like, "Oh, woman, what are you doing?" And that's just like, oh, it's just a bit annoying. But it's not that bad. But yeah, I think a lot of the time we just want to comment and be like, "What are you doing?" Like it's not that deep. And yeah,
I do also think that with men, because let's be honest, it's always men, making them laugh is sort of appealing to them, and not I'm trying to appeal to them, but they come not caring who you are. They're just scared that you're a girl, so they're going to think that it's an insult. And so if we reply with like good banter, then suddenly they realize, no, it's sports. We need to have banter in sport. And a lot of them sort of like become reasonable once you've like, got on their level of like, I'm not being aggressive. I'm not showing you that you got to me. I'm just gonna make fun of you. And they either like explode and just go away, or they actually banter back. And that's how we gain like almost loyal followers, actually, like men that came as like challenging us. And then they realize that no, we actually know like what we're talking about and we're like funny about it. So I think this is always the angle, like the approach we take, like, oh, can we make a friend out of that person who is not a hater, they're just a man on the
Yeah.
internet.
Obviously, if they're haters, we just delete the comments
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if it's really inappropriate, we'll just delete and block. But because often it's ignorance, and so I think this is sort of like, you know, and sometimes we like being one of the boys. Like, this is sort of our approach because, you know, we're Red Bull fans. We're like, we make fun of the team. Like, the comedy club is our main, you know,
No.
earner, if I mean in terms of like engagement. So we're all about making fun of our own team, making fun of the Red Bull fans, making fun of us. So if someone comes and sort of like try to tease us or make fun of us, we're like, well, get in line because I'll do that first. So I think, yeah, this is our approach, like not, you know, not getting offended because it's not personal, it's just them, and hopefully educating them a bit, you know, in a way. With the comedy club, a lot of our followers are males because they're Red Bull fans who just love edits. And so we felt like they come for the comedy club, but if they then see two women make interesting content, they might change their mind about female creators as a whole. So this is sort of the angle that we're getting to.
My bad habit is gaslighting the like horrible comments. Like, I will gaslight them and I'll be like, it's so bad, and I should not admit that on a public forum. But honestly, and then like, do you ever make videos, right? And this has happened to me so many times, and you're like, this is absolutely hilarious, this is gonna go viral, I'm gonna get tons of followers, and I'm gonna be like the next Lissy McIntosh, and then it just goes because I made a video called the Teagan curse. It got restricted, but basically I've discovered if I say I support so-and-so driver, or like if I interview a driver at a track, they fail abysmally in that weekend of the racing. It's a humbling experience. But do you ever think like you make content and you're like, this is going to be absolutely banging, and it just goes?
Yeah, all the time.
Well, the frustrating thing that happened to us is that, as I said, Maia uses numbers a lot and she makes data videos, which are based on facts, which are factual and interesting, and nobody watches them. And the minute she makes a jokey video where she misinterprets numbers to make them, you know, it was a video where she said, oh, Daniel would have been on pole at Silverstone based on his test, which was an exaggerated version of what Christian Horner said, which was not serious, but you had to know that this specific one was comedy. But this one was shown to everyone. The algorithm was like, oh, great, a woman being wrong.
Controversy.
Let's show it to all of the men on the internet. And oh, that video did well because men loved telling her that she was silly and wrong when it was a joke. So it was frustrating because people were like, oh, maybe make good content instead of being stupid. And we said, yeah, but when we make content, you're not seeing it because other people don't engage with it. We have to be stupid. We have to bait men into coming into our comments to be negative, because it's been said that people are more likely to comment if they have something negative to say than if they have something positive, which is really sad and makes content creating difficult. And that's why we have to stick with each other. Like, leave that little comment, like, you're doing well, like, just because, negative comments are...
We've kind of got it though, the hook now. Like, a lot of my data videos now, I'll have like a 5-second clip of a driver at the beginning, like interviewing, and then I'll start talking, and people stay because they're hooked by the little interview. So yeah, there's little ways that we're finding that work. But yeah, we have some videos like Manon like spends ages on a video. What was the video the other day? Yeah, on TikTok. Remember, you made that video. You made the video that you're in love with, the Mariah Carey one.
I made a silly video with a transition, and I was like, this is really good, I love it. And then someone left a comment, and Maya replied to the comment with a video. You know, you can do that on TikTok. And her reply got way more views than my original video, and I was really frustrated. But
I mean, it's fine.
It's views for both of us. But I thought, but this one was the funny video. You're just replying to a comment. So in conclusion, I never think a video is going to do well because I've learned my lessons. TikTok hates me and will not push my videos.
Yeah, definitely. Because my most viral Instagram reel, it's like a Bad Bunny singing like something like "Mi vida va como Verstappen in Formula Uno," and I made that, and I'd got a video where I was just talking about data or something, and I wasn't going to publish it, so I just took that video, muted it, and put that song over it, and was like, Bad Bunny said, my life's like Verstappen in Formula One, but actually it's like the Haas car. And then I looked, it got 822,000 views or something ridiculous. I was like, sorry, I'm sorry, where did that come from? And like my most viral video on TikTok, it's like a crap cut template. I'm like, why is it pushing the 2-second easy videos, not the ones that I've put tons of effort into? Like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's very frustrating because they're all about make quality content and you will get views, but that's not true. Works. That's just not true.
Yeah,
it's a shame, but yeah, we're sort of like slaves of the algorithm. Or this is why I like Instagram more than TikTok, I think, because Instagram, having a community, having the stories, the people in your DMs, all that, I feel like you can sort of like tell people, hey, I've made that video, don't forget to check it out. Whereas on TikTok, even your followers
they
don't get shown your video because your For You page is not just the people you follow. So it's a bit frustrating. Like I don't want to put as much effort into TikTok anymore because it feels like a lottery, and I think it's not really fair to creators.
Definitely. However, Instagram, the weird men happen to lurk more on Instagram.
I think Formula is amazing. I really enjoy it. I think the racing is, fascinating.
The way that they could just bump into each other and carry on.
Yeah,
I love that.
The fact that the cars like fall apart at the first like hint of a collision, and so they can be a bit more like frisky. And I enjoy the fact that they don't need to pit, so that strategy is out the window. It's all about like it's actual racing. Like you have to overtake, you have to be the quickest, you have to like handle your energy the best, because your pit crew cannot mess up your rival's race. Like it's all down to you. And what is more racing than cars not stopping for I don't know how many laps? And like if you look at the Monaco E-Prix last year, where there was like, I don't know, 100 overtakes or something crazy like that in Monaco, and then you watch the F1 race and nothing
They're just following each other.
Like the Monaco F1 Grand Prix gave us rain. Like everything happened, and yet Max won and Fernando was second and Esteban was third, just like they started. So I don't know. I mean, I love F1, but I think F1 is sadly underrated.
And the London E-Prix, where we looked away for a second and then they were all just piled on top of each other.
Oh, that was fun.
That was amazing.
And the qualifying format with the duel, I think is really fun. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, when I went, Antonio Giovinazzi got through to like near the finals or something, and everyone was just screaming and like absolutely going wild, and then he got knocked out.
Well,
it happens. It's motorsport. Motorsport's funky.
I mean, I love that about him, right? I like that it was sort of a joke in Formula E, right? Like, but his last year, it was like, oh my God, is he going to even finish the race? Like, I think he had more DNF than like finishes. But then he went to Le Mans and he won Le Mans, and suddenly like he's back on like, he's almost a legend now because he won Le Mans for Ferrari. It's a big deal. So I think it's nice when like drivers do terrible in a series, but then sort of like get the redemption arc. So this is what I'm hoping for Nick De Vries next year.
Yeah,
I'm hoping he's going to show that like he's a good driver, and that
he was so good in FE. So yeah, it was all right.
It was all right.
He was mugged off. That is the only way I can put it. He was a victim of Red Bull and AlphaTauri. I say that with an AlphaTauri poster literally staring me in the eyes. But he was a victim of the Red Bull
machine.
Yes, the Red Bull factory.
They were just waiting for him to mess up to put Daniel in that seat. As a Daniel Ricciardo fan, put my hands up.
I think it was a placeholder.
Yeah.
I think they signed Nick De Vries to replace Pierre almost as a sort of like weird punishment to the Red Bull Junior, like, oh, you guys aren't good enough, so we're gonna go and sign someone else. And then when it started, Daniel was reserve driver, so they were always like, oh, wish we'd put Daniel in that car instead. So I don't think they ever really gave him a chance because they had no loyalty for him. And considering how they treat their boys, I think it's almost not surprising how they would treat like an external boy. I think it's unfair for him, but not that surprising. I think it was just a weird choice for them. from the start. Like they jumped on him following the Monza Grand Prix, like one hit wonder, but then they didn't let him, you know, the chance. And the car was terrible, and Daniel was just
The
there.
car was so bad. That Alpha
So-
Tauri at the beginning of the season. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Like, what was he expected to do with it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like the way they went about it. I don't like how they announced Daniel and suddenly Nick De Vries disappeared. There was no goodbye post, no thank you post, whether it was AlphaTauri or F1 itself. It was all about Daniel. Welcome back, Daniel. We're so happy. And it's like, yeah, but a man just got fired. Can we at least address that? And yeah, that was poorly done.
Literally, I remember I made an Instagram reel about it, and men were like, well, he was shit and he was really bad, and so of course he got fired, just being overly sensitive. And I was like, no, it's about manners. And literally, tell me you don't know anything about his Formula E career without telling me you don't know anything about it, because honestly, that was my first season, I think. Yeah, that was my first season of Formula E, and literally he was like unstoppable.
And I think even if it was terrible, even if it was P20 every race, it still deserves like basic decency. It's hard enough to get dropped like not even mid-season. They didn't even wait for the break. They just dropped him after Silverstone. He didn't even know it was going to be his last race. It was just like, oh, Daniel's managed to drive a car. He's getting the seat. There was no consideration. Like, yeah, it's not being sensitive. It's just being like, oh, well, that's not right.
No.
And I think we'll also come from a place, I mean, I don't know about you, but because we're big Daniel Ricciardo fans, so we've lived through McLaren dropping him for Oscar, and we were the first one to be like, oh, that's rude, like blah blah blah. I'm not then going to praise AlphaTauri for doing that just because they're taking my driver on. Like, that's hypocritical. So no, it's like, guys, just have manners. Be at least McLaren let Daniel like say it first. Like, he made the announcement that he was leaving McLaren and all that. AlphaTauri just, you know, erased Nick De Vries from the timeline. Like, it was just click of the finger.
Literally, like, I'm not being funny. Nikita Mazepin got a proper goodbye post. He was like, thank you for your minimal contribution to the team. Thanks for the money you threw at the team.
Yeah.
And then Nick, it was like, poof.
Yeah, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Just so strange.
It was a strange PR decision. Let's just say that. It didn't make them look good.
No,
Definitely not.
I think they took advantage of the fact that he wasn't that popular compared to Daniel, who was like, you know, oh, Daniel has returned to F1. But like,
we can acknowledge Nick.
And also, like, I think it sort of like diminished the excitement for me, because all I was thinking about was like, what about Nick? Like, are you going to like give us at least a fake valid reason or an excuse, or just at least a nice message like, oh, sorry, we couldn't make it work, blah blah. No, it like Nick didn't exist. And yeah, I wasn't really happy about it. I'm okay now, but on the day I was like, oh, that sucks. And yeah, it was supposed to be a good week because Daniel was testing and his results were great and that was exciting, and suddenly it just felt like all very rushed and disrespectful. But
what's your guys' take on Drive to Survive?
Do you want to take this
I'll
one?
talk about Drive to Survive. No, so like we're
no, don't say we have really different opinions.
Yeah, we do. So I don't like it. Because I feel like it's trying to force me to feel things about a sport that, I mean, now I've already watched it. So I don't like how that makes me feel. And it just over dramatizes everything and makes me stressed about things that I wasn't stressed about. And like, I'm watching a show of a race that I was stressed during the race. But like the whole storyline about it, I'm like, I wasn't stressed about that. It was fine. So yeah, I don't like being forced to feel things, and I think that's what Drive to Survive does, but it does it well. So it's good at what it does. It doesn't sit well with me, I would say.
I think it's a good way into the sport, because
I'm glad it exists though.
Yeah, because I was never interested in Formula One before until my best friend got really into it via Drive to Survive. And so she introduced it as a sport to me, not as a Netflix show. But I thought, oh, I get it. You make it look exciting. She told me a bit about some rivalries, some history, and things like that. But if I sat in front of a race, I wouldn't have all the things that she mentioned, because not every race has every storylines, right? So I thought, oh, I'm still going to like give the show a try. And I think it's a good way of like, well, getting to know the characters, because ultimately, like, these are the same players, the same drivers every week, the entire season. But if you don't get to know them, you don't get invested in them, and you don't like root for a team. So I think whether it's Drive to Survive or, you know, any sort of like channel, like season review or YouTube videos, that you need something behind the scene to really get invested, because otherwise it's men with helmets going in circle and you don't know the stakes. And Crofty doesn't remind you of all the stakes at every race. So I think it's a really good way to see if you care about those men racing, and if you care about them getting the seat in the team they want, or if you care about that team getting P3. So I'm glad I watched it. It helped me get into it. But now that I'm watching the season, I don't really like the new seasons, because I'm aware of like, oh, this didn't happen like that. Or why, like this year I was like, why do we have an entire episode on Ferrari in Miami? Why do we have to see Guan Yu Zhou's crash in 3 different episodes? Why? So I'm more and more critical as a fan, but I guess it's a good way of like getting into it.
I can't lie, I haven't watched the last 2 seasons.
Mm.
No. Okay, no, I haven't watched last season for sure. But yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with both of you, because it does do good for, is that an English sentence? It does do,
It does good. Yeah, it
But
does do
it does
good.
well.
yeah, it's good for like bringing new fans into the sport and, you know, generating the hype. But, you know, it's like the Kardashians, right? I promise this has a link. The Kardashians is very dramatic. Like, you've got Kim Kardashian whacking Khloe with a bag. It's the same. You've got the fake rivalry between like Max and the
Everyone.
buys his hair off. Like, I know,
Uh,
okay, that's not the same, but like, you get what I mean.
No, I get it. There was like that one episode where they invented a rivalry between Yuki Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon, and I thought, this what? Those guys have never fought for a place in the championship, so they just thought, oh, that will make a good storyline. So yeah, I think I have nothing against it. I think visually it's amazing. As a video editor who really likes cinema and movies, I think it's really cool to see. But obviously it's not what the sport is about, but it's a good way in. I think obviously it comes with a bias. Like, a lot of DTS fans are going to be like Daniel Ricciardo fans, because he's like put in a really good light, as opposed to Max, who, you know, wasn't painted in the best of light. So it does come with a bias. So I hope people are able to like, you know, like move through to the web and see like the truth and get invested in people for who they really are. But yeah, I think it's nice.
So you guys, did you go to 2 Grand Prix this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Went Silverstone and Zandvoort.
I've never been to one.
Aw.
Gonna get there one year.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
have been to one when I was 17 either.
My mum and dad literally, year before I was born, they went to Silverstone, and I'm like,
They never went back.
no, they got a deal out the Sun newspaper, to be fair, but the prices have just skyrocketed so much, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But as people who've been to multiple Grand Prix, can you explain like Ticketgate, like trying to scrap to get the tickets, you know, the weird things about portable chargers? Can you like explain to me what it's like going to the Grand Prix?
Yeah, so we went to 2 different Grand Prix and they had quite different vibes to us. So I guess Silverstone, that was my first Grand Prix, and it's like very getting tickets. They like overhype the ticket like sale. You can get tickets now, like they're not sold out. So yeah, they hype it up, and like there's the dynamic pricing, which is horrible, where the longer it goes, the more expensive it gets, which is why I would not recommend Silverstone. Go to another European Grand Prix if you want to go to one. And yeah, you kind of have to camp so you can enjoy everything, because it's like an amazing experience. I think if we go to Silverstone, we do one day. I don't think I could do a whole weekend again. It's an amazing experience because they have like all the feeder series. It's like a festival vibe. It's very family friendly. And then in the evenings they have amazing artists like playing a show. So yeah, it's a whole experience. So I get why it's one of the most expensive ones, because it does give you everything. But the camping, the inaccessibility of that circuit, it's in the middle of nowhere. So there's no like public transport or anything. Like the first day I got a coach up, which was okay, but you have to like drive and then camp. And it's just camping for that many days is after you've like been walking around all day or like sitting in the sun or the rain and
yeah, the weather like plays a big part, because
we were quite lucky.
We were lucky that it only rained like during a F2 sprint on the Saturday, so it never rained at night. But imagine if you spend the day sitting in the rain and then you go home in your tent, that's also wet, so you have to be ready for that. But I guess it makes sense that you would need to camp when there's action from 8:30 to 11 p.m. So it's quite like an action-packed weekend, which is quite cool. And Silverstone is great because you've got a roving grandstands on Friday and Saturday, which means that even though you're sitting, let's say, on the Hamilton Straight on Sunday, on Friday and Saturday you can sit anywhere if you've got grandstand tickets. So it's quite fun because like for each session we tried a different grandstand. And so it gives you like
a lot of walking.
Yeah, it involves a lot of walking, but then you get like different views. Like you get to sit in grandstand that you maybe can't afford. Like we had one of the cheapest ones for the Sunday, which is Farm Curve, which is really good, but uncovered as well, so weather dependent. And we did one free practice on the straight because we wanted to see the garages. Then we did one in Beckett, which has like all DRS zones, like you can see,
it's amazing.
You can see everything. So that I like. Charger, that's another issue with camping, is that you have no energy. Like there's one tent with plugs, but otherwise you will need your portable charger.
And there was no signal. There's no signal in Silverstone.
There's no signal.
Even if you want to phone someone, like if you lose your friends, that's it. You're alone.
You're alone. Go and make new friends.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's very different to our experience in Zandvoort. But in Zandvoort, we booked it very differently. We booked it quite last minute. We had an Airbnb nearby, and you can do that because the transport to the circuit's so good. Yeah. So we got the bus. We could get the bus or the train, and both of them were super accessible, really cheap. And Zandvoort is a very different vibe. It's less family friendly. I mean, you'd be fine, but it's more like a party. Like it's like a rave. It's for 3 days. It's a
festival, but not a family friendly festival. It's more like it's just people just being insane and really nice about it. But it's gonna be like like techno music.
Every time there was a red flag, and there was a lot of red flags on that weekend because of the rain, it was like DJ.
Yeah, non-stop DJ, just like dancing, people drinking all day, which is once again also fine. But
it was no, we didn't have any bad experiences in Zandvoort, like no like sexism or anything. It was absolutely fine. It felt very safe. But
yeah, both felt really safe.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just lucky, but yeah, that was our experience.
Also, we don't speak Dutch, so we probably wouldn't have known if it was happening.
That's true. If there's a comment in passing, it goes over our head. So, but yeah, no, we love Zandvoort. I don't know what Zandvoort feels like if you're not like a Red Bull fan or a Max fan, but it's really, really fun. Everyone's really nice, and just come prepared to dance, because there's a lot of waiting around with DJ playing. So if you don't get in the mood of like, I'm going to dance while waiting for the next session, you can get a bit bored. But yeah, I love Zandvoort. I really want to go again.
It hasn't got F2 next year, so we haven't booked for Zandvoort next year. Yeah. Sadly. Yet. We'll probably end up going, let's be honest.
Have you guys, this is inspired by something that happened to me, have you ever been like at a track and someone's come over and been like, oh my god, are you guys Manon and Maia? Like, has someone come up to you, like, taken a photo with you before?
In Zandvoort, it happened a couple of times because that's like our main Honestly, that's like our main audience.
Yeah, we have a lot of Dutch followers, obviously, because we make a lot of Max content.
Yeah. So yeah, it did happen a couple of times in Soundboard.
We also
yeah,
did a meetup.
Yeah, we did it on purpose.
We did a meetup, so some people came and we did pictures. But yeah, we had a girl in our grandstand who
really
also
cute.
like walked up to us and asked for a picture. And then we were at a bar on the beach. Oh, that's the beauty of Onboard. You're by the seaside. So after a day at the track, you can go have a drink in a beach bar. Someone came up to us and said, "Excuse me, do you do TikTok?" And I was like, "Oh yes, we do." And that was really fun. It's really cute. Like it's exciting.
Nice.
And you don't know what to say. You're like, "Oh, yes." And then people are like, "Oh, I don't want to bother you, bye." And we're like, "No, but like we want to make friends. Like that's the reason why we started making content. We wanted like to chat with people about F1. So please don't go."
Honestly, I was at Donington Park for the British GT, and one of my followers came over to me, and I was the most awkward person that like in the world ever. I was like, "Hi." I didn't know what to do because like I knew he was going to come up and say hello, but I'd never done like anything like that before. Yeah. And it was just I did not know how to act. I was like,
yeah.
It's I guess it comes with practice, that kind of reaction, but it's always a case of like you don't know who they are and they know who you are. So there's a bit of a, oh, you know a lot about me and I don't even know what's your username on Instagram. So it's quite fun because you're like the first thing I do is like ask them loads of questions, sort of like try and like get to know them. So it's not that awkward thing of like, oh, ask me a question about myself, because no, like we just happen to be on Instagram, but we're nobodies. We're not a bigger fan than anyone. We're all fans. And so it's like, oh yeah, where are you from? Who's your favorite team? Who's your favorite driver?
Yeah.
Is it your first event? Do you like this, that? Just to be like, you know, we're both human.
Try and break the ice a bit. Yeah. It comes with practice. It's just small talk, really, ultimately. So it's a practice thing.
And also some people are more comfortable talking online than offline. So some people might have a great personality on their account and then you meet them in real life and they're like, oh. And so it's like everyone's different. And yeah, it's like if you forget that you're a content creator and someone just walks up to you on the street and is like, hey, I know you from somewhere, and you forgot who they are, it's the same thing of like, oh, what do I say? Do I to remember them? Do I like so yeah, you sort of like choose how you want to act, I guess, how you want to react.
Yeah, and like I used to post a bit on my like private not my private, my close friends list on Instagram, but now it's just me and my other accounts on my close friends list, because like what if I say something and it like, you know how celebrities are getting their tweets resurfaced from like 12 years ago and they're like, this is racist or like this is sexist, and like, do you know Danny Rick's Bish? She does content, she's called Katie. Yeah, I'm sort of friends with her, and she's been cancelled so many times because people have misinterpreted what she said. And like we were saying earlier about jokes and stuff on the internet, like most of my content is jokey, like unless, you know, I appear just like solemn or like grumpy, it'll be like a joke. Like it annoys me when people do not take things, like they take my content for gospel.
Yeah, or they take one video out of context, like when you did
get it a lot.
Maia did a data video about McLaren once, and she was saying, oh, it's weird because Oscar used to be like closer to Lando, and in the past few races his pace has not been as good, and
people like took the
TikTok out of context, put it on Twitter, and started like being like, oh my god, Lando fans are so mean and delusional. And we had to be like, we're not Lando fans. We're doing factual analysis. This is like a legit question. We're not coming for Oscar. We love Oscar Piastri.
We like Oscar more than we like Lando.
But
so like,
if you'd left that video on TikTok where it belongs and commented there, you would have known that this is part of a playlist where we do that for like all teammates. Like, but suddenly it looked like Maia was coming for Oscar Piastri. When
it didn't help that I was wearing Lando merch, because somebody sent us some Lando merch and we were like, oh, I'm gonna wear it in this video because it's relevant, and it looked like I was a massive Lando fan.
Yeah.
But
We
It
learn.
was nice. I like the top.
Yeah, it's just silly because, you know, if you knew our account, you would know that Maya only makes factual statement based on the data that the FIA provides, and that we're not McLaren fans at all. So I don't know. It's just, it was silly, and yeah, we just had a little battle to fight on Twitter.
I think we came up.
Twitter, like I'm so scared of someone seeing my own face appear on Twitter because someone's screenshotting my video. And like also F1 merch, why is it so expensive? I'm sorry, but why are you paying 40 quid for a baseball cap? Like,
no, absolutely.
They
and
can
also
do it. So.
it is not women friendly at all. So we are big
Yeah.
fans of like indie brands like that keep popping up. I'm such a big fan of like all the people who have made their full-time job selling F1 fan-made merch. I think it's incredible. It's sort of like taking back from a sport that's really elitist and expensive. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to make a career out of you, and there's nothing you can do about it because technically they're not using the F1 brand.
Yeah.
They're not. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, it's a dress though.
Is it a Mercedes dress? Oh yeah, this is the one item.
I'm sorry. Why would you pay 45 quid for that? It is ugly.
It looks like you're ready to go like in a weird like Mercedes church, because you know it's quite a long black dress.
High collar, long.
High collar black dress. It's like your uniform to go to like Mercedes school or whatever. But
yeah, no, it's not great.
Big fan of like the fan made merch because fans know what fans want, and we have loads of it and we love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's less pricey as well. And I think the one good thing about F1 merch is that it's cute that you're wearing the team's uniform, like that you can feel like, you know, you're part of the team, that if you were an employee you would look exactly the same. I think that's cute, but apart from that, it's not the best sports merch.
No.
And we're Red Bull fans. Like I think Haas has like the worst, you know, variety of like merch items. So it's tough being a fan of the smaller team. We've got one AlphaTauri t-shirt.
I've got a Pierre AlphaTauri t-shirt, and then I've got, for some reason, I've got 2 Williams hats, and then I've got a Pierre hat.
They're nice, the Williams hats.
So
yeah.
How do you come up with your skits and the Red Bull Comedy Club?
The Red Bull Comedy Club came as so at the start of the season, I had an idea. I mean, basically last year I had an idea because obviously I was following everything Daniel was doing. So I was looking for all his interviews after each session and all that. And I thought, oh, it would have been nice if I had done like sort of a recap videos after each race weekend, which was how he's done during a session, what he had to say about it, sort of like compiling the interviews that he gave to F1 TV, to Sky Sport, to Canal Plus, which is the French F1 broadcaster, Viaplay, which is the Dutch one, you know, like Sky Italia, all those things. But obviously Daniel left, so I couldn't do it this year. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do it for Red Bull. And so in Bahrain, I started sort of like downloading all the videos I could find and realized that Max and Checo, they can be quite boring when it comes to the technical side. Like they give us nothing. They just say, the car is fast. So I thought, okay, this is not going to work. But I noticed that they were making a lot of jokes that weekend and like, you know, awkward, like I'm trying to be funny and it's not that funny jokes. So I thought, what if I made like a compilation of them trying to be funny and call it the Comedy Club, because they're trying to be comedian and it's hilarious. And so I did that, and it did quite well as an edit. So I thought, oh, I'll try again next week. And luckily for me, Max was consistently in the top 3, so he was always in the press conference. So I had a lot of content of him being funny, being sassy, being sarcastic. So I was able to have like content for every week and managed to do all 22, 23 races. So that's how it came about, just like me wanting to make like a sort of like a rewind of each Grand Prix and opting for the comedic aspect. But I don't know if I will be able to do it forever, because I feel like if Red Bull stop winning everything, they won't be as funny. Obviously, like you can tell when Max has not as good of a weekend, his sarcasm gets on the edge of not quite funny and almost a bit mean. So we'll see next year. I don't think they will lose next year.
Yeah, but they might not be up there.
I don't know if they're going to be as funny. Like at the start of the season, I had Max and Checo sort of as funny as the other. And then gradually, because Checo was having a miserable season, he was never making jokes. So gradually Checo disappeared from those videos through no fault of my own. Every weekend I was like, please give me one joke. And it was quite hard because he was having a tough time. So wasn't
People
in the
used to
mood.
come for her in the comments. They were like, "Where's Chaka? You said it's the Red Bull Comedy Club." Like, he just wasn't funny this week.
He's not having fun. So yeah. And the other one, if F1 cars could talk, I don't remember how I got the idea. I think at first I wanted to make a video where a fan of each team would talk, but then it sort of felt personal. I didn't want to be that person who comes at Ferrari fans for being depressed, or who come like, I didn't want to create a weird rivalry between the Mercedes fans and the Red Bull fans. So I thought it would be funnier to be the cars, because nobody can take it personally. Like, they're literally objects. So yeah, I've started like giving some personalities to the car and their own little outfit, and yeah, turn them into like their own sort of reality show where they just banter each other, where there's friendships here and there. I like them.
They're fun.
They make they make watching the Grand Prix interesting, because I'm like, I get really attached to the cars now, and I'm like, she's hurt. McLaren is in the wall.
Honestly, you must have had a field day over the Vegas Grand Prix for Max, because he was just so sassy. Like,
He was
honestly.
Yeah, he hated it.
He wasn't having.
It was just like,
He was, bless him, was probably just tired and wanted to go to bed. And
but you can see, like, I think the Las Vegas Grand Prix was interesting in terms of Max, because at the end of FP2, when it was like, I don't know, 4 a.m. or something, and he didn't like the track, he didn't like what his car was doing. It was 4 a.m. It was all like dry humor, borderline mean. But then at the end of the Grand Prix, it had a great race. He had fun. He won. It was like just a clown in that car, like the cool down car. It was just a clown. And then in the press conference, it was just like giving it all. So yeah, I think it's funny how he just reacts to things.
his mood is, he doesn't hide anything. I think that's what.
Yeah, he has no filter. Like, the PR training has left the chat.
Honestly, that car on the way to is it the Bellagio with all the fountains?
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, lay there, like pretty delirious at whatever time it was in the morning, going, what's happening? Why are they doing all this?
I just remember them like getting out the car in those dumb suits, those dumb Red Bull suits. They look like clowns.
They did.
And then they're in this car and it looked like, I don't know, it just looked so dodgy. I was like, there's not even space for them.
It's just, I'm sorry, but like, Sergio being in red and Max being in white in the middle, he looked like the main singer with like his back dancers. Like, the whole thing was ridiculous. It was so funny.
It was great. It just topped the weekend off nicely. It was just like, so dumb.
I mean, it was a good race. So
yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah.
Did you see the video of that bloke? And apparently he's famous, but I don't know what he's like a boxing announcer, and he was like, Sergio, Checo, and he got right in his face, and poor Checo just said like,
oh my god,
it was so funny.
I could, when I was editing this bit of the comedy club, I just couldn't stop laughing at Checo just like waiting, and that guy just turning his back on him.
He completely
ignoring him. Just, you could tell that he was just like, go away, go away, go away. And Checo was just like, I don't know where to go. It was, it brought me so much joy.
Checo does, like, he looks confused quite a lot of the time. That's like...
It's just, I like that he's not like too proud about it.
Like, he's just lost.
And that was funny. That was over the top, but really, really funny.
You know,
I think, it's just, I really like American sports, but I think those kind of intros do not suit F1 at all. And it's like, why are you trying to push it so much? Like, we're big American football fans, and whenever we go to games in London, I love the national anthem. I love when the announcer announces the quarterback and he runs and everyone goes crazy. I love that. But I can't stand it in F1. It's just, it doesn't match. I
think they could do like just like cheerleaders or something. I think that would work quite well. like during, if like, you know, during the, like at the end of national anthem, then they have cheerleaders, something that doesn't involve the drivers acting that way.
Yeah.
Like if it's a separate thing, fine.
I mean,
But
to be fair, I think announcing them before the parade when they're going to come out anyway is a nice compromise.
yeah,
Because like Miami, when they were introducing them for the anthem, it was a bit weird. And I think the drivers complained that they don't want to have to do anything like in the half hour before the race. At least the parade being 2 hours early, I think it's an okay compromise if they really need like that announcer. Or who was it in Miami, the singer?
Will.i.am.
Yeah,
of
Will.i.am
course,
being like,
he's everywhere.
having his like, what was it about Nick? Like, oh, he is small, Nick DeVries. Or like, I don't know. That was embarrassing. That was weird because you could tell that they just did not want to be there. So yeah, I think the parade bit was okay. And if it hadn't been for Checo, it would have been a fine moment. But the Checo bit made it so funny.
I'm so looking forward to what's it called? The Christmas, what's it? Secret Santa. I'm so looking forward to the Secret Santa video because there's always one that gets the most stupid gifts and then the one that gets some of the most uncreative gifts. Like Lance is the uncreative one. No disrespect to the guy. I'm sure it's lovely.
He's got money. You can just give them like a voucher or something.
A £10 Amazon voucher.
I just like the little glimpse into their relationships that you get. Like, when was it? Was it last year? That like, I think Seb got Esteban like, was it paddle rackets or something? Like, you suddenly found out that like Esteban and Seb used to play like sport together, which until then I had no idea there was any kind of relationship between those two drivers. So it was really sweet because I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know those guys like were doing extracurricular activities together. So it's quite fun. Like, obviously, if it's two drivers that you know are friends, it's like, yeah, duh. But I like it when it's like that little hint of like, oh, like everyone will offer Lance Stroll alcohol for some reason every year. You get some bottle and you're like, okay, what does it say about him? Why do they think he's the alcoholic of the paddock? But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I think I've avoided all spoilers, so I have no idea who got who. That's quite exciting.
Honestly, it's always chaos. And do you think in the F1 drivers group chat, who do you think sends the memes and who do you think's like the dad texter?
Because I think that Max is aware of the memes, but I don't think he would share them. I think Max is inactive out of principle.
No, I don't think so. I feel like they have like lots of different group chats, to be honest, where they all like behave differently. I think the main one is mostly going to be like George Russell telling them off, right?
Not telling them off,
just like laying down the law.
More like, guys, this happened. Should we discuss in the meeting? Or I think it's more about teaming up against the FIA than like telling each other off, because the group chat is not the time. I don't know. You know when like you've got friends in a group, but there's that one person you don't really get along with, and you're feeling super like judged. And so if I was any of those drivers, I would feel scared of sharing memes because I'd be like, oh, Lewis is gonna think I'm stupid, or like, oh, this guy is gonna think I'm an idiot, or so I don't know if someone shares memes.
No,
is there someone who's like universally liked? Could Alex Albon share memes?
Probably.
He probably share pictures of his pets, like, oh, that guy loved your race or whatever.
I can picture Lando Norris sending memes because I think he's got the mentality of like a 5-year-old. And I just picture George Russell texting like a dad, like the thumbs up. Okay. Okay.
Capital letters.
Yeah. And then I feel like Lewis has his keyboard all in lowercase and he only texts when he really needs to. Like,
yeah, he does, like, he reacts to messages, like,
he doesn't type.
He doesn't send the thumb up. He's going to like press.
I'm good if that, can't lie.
What did you think of the season?
It was a bit mid, to be fair. There's been better. That was such a like Gen Z response. It was all right. Like, there's been better seasons, there's been worse, but I just think 2021, like, how good was 2021 compared to like this season and like the battle that literally, have you seen the Skyfall edits to that last lap of Abu Dhabi 2021.
I don't think I have. You need to.
I like the idea. Yeah.
Honestly, I will send it to you because it's like amazing. Honestly, I'm just such a fangirl.
It's been like 2 years, but I still don't know how I felt about Abu Dhabi 2021. I know that at the time I didn't like how it ended because, you know, I was obviously rooting for Max 100%, but I wanted like it to be a clean win. And so I didn't like that it came with like, you know, the whole like, oh, are we sure? And between the moment where they made the call and the finishing line, because it was one lap, you barely had time to like
there was no
swallow the decision that Max had won. I was like, oh, am I allowed to be happy? Are they gonna take it away from him? Like it wasn't. Yeah, it was a bit. I'm glad he's won several since, like clean. I'm glad that like Max has like become that beast, that champion. Like he's so freaking good. Like he's so amazing to watch. He's such a good driver, and I'm glad that it wasn't sort of like a one-off like fluke. And everyone will be like, oh, Max Verstappen is not a deserving champion because blah, blah. No, he is. Whether you can delete 2021 and Max is still like a double world champion. So, yeah, I try to like not think about Abu Dhabi, but the rest of the season was like really exciting. Yeah. I think something else that makes that season quite boring is the lack of, I don't want to say the lack of crush because I don't want people to crush, but the lack of like DNF almost like Brazil.
There was such boring DNF.
Yeah, every car in Brazil just like going in the pit lane to DNF peacefully. It's like, no, because we need safety cars. We need like random yellows. We need free pit stop. It's part of the excitement, right? This is what would challenge Max when the pace of the cars can't.
Somebody crashed into the wall.
Well, you know, like Latifi. No.
We need, I was just gonna say we need Latifi back. Latifi and Mazepin, dream team.
Exactly.
But yeah, like honestly, half the people who DNF this year, I didn't even realize they DNF. Like they just
they do it peacefully.
Yeah, like I'd look at the results at the end because I've got to make the post, and it's like Esteban Ocon, poor Esteban, by the way, like he's been through it this year. But he's DNF'd, and I'm like, since when? Like what? And then Esteban Ocon's 5-second penalties that he just kept getting, like
in Bahrain. That was funny.
There was a tweet the other day, and it was that this person had just got into F1 this season, and they thought Ocon was a type of penalty because of how often they'd seen it.
Yeah, people have made a meme out of it on Instagram. It's always like 5-second penalty for Ocon. Like,
honestly, poor Esteban.
It's I think it's the one thing that sort of like shake things up a bit when like one of the main characters, like one of the top 10 Finnish cars, DNFs or get into a crash, and suddenly it gives like possibility to like the midfielders and the back of the grid to like fight for points. So you're almost wishing for like one person to take it for the team. And I don't wish for Charles to crash into the wall on the out lap, on the formation lap.
But that was entertaining.
Yeah, that was, I mean, yeah, that was sad, but that was funny at the same time.
I think also we're talking about memes. George Russell has been the biggest meme of the season with his, oh, you can't see my hand.
Like, he loves it. He loves it.
So funny, honestly.
He loves the attention.
I think he likes it, but I think a lot of the things he got memed for, he didn't mean do it on purpose, right? Because you got a meme where it's like, I think it was Australian red flag, where he's like sitting against the pit wall and looking at the Red Bull, and everyone's made like the spy meme about him. And then you've got all the times where he's sitting like this in this car in the parade, or the one where like he just turned over just as the camera was you can't know that this is happening.
He's just a meme.
But like his memes are never like, okay, the poser one did a bit, but his memes never make him look like stupid because he looks great like on his like car poses and stuff. So it's almost like, yeah, over the like a model got lost in an F1 car, you know. It's quite funny, and he embraces it, so
it's fine. Yeah,
at least everyone's happy. He's not being mocked or like, you know, it's the last thing that we want.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of the Avoid the Tyrewall, and thank you to Mania on Board for agreeing to do this podcast. See you next week. Bye.